What's going on? It's time for another episode of Too Hard for the Radio, transmitting from the future-free state of Greater Idaho. I am the one-armed madman, and back with me today, we've got the great Michaell Magrutsche. Boy, Michael, we had some recording issues, but I think we're ready to rock. I was telling you here before we started recording that, and this is probably a good time for me to kind of throw out a disclaimer for the audience that I haven't been doing many podcasts lately. I've been kind of down and just not really feeling it. And like you were saying, man, like, I think the people notice when you're not into it, right? Like I notice when I listen to a podcast and the person's not into it, or maybe they're not prepared or something like that. And it's like, this isn't great. And I think I was, I just didn't have the drive to do it for the last few weeks. My buddy's kind of been on vacation, working too much. And it's like, you know what? I'm just going to take a little bit of time off. It's summer.
Perfect. No, it's true. It's, this is our fourth time. And what I feel is with all the people, systemic, we talked about system relevance and human centricity, everybody's one-on-one, fits synergistically. We are collaborative creator animal. That's why we have Google, Apple, all the states, all the religion. We love to create together. And system relevance says copy, just do the average, generalized humans, all men are the same. All women are the same. All this race is all the same. And when you generalize humans, then you actually castrate and neuter them. And so we, like all the podcasters, do whatever everybody else says. You have a radio show. That radio show needs to be on every day at 7, because then people get used to it. That was true in the old days. It's not anymore, because nobody goes by, I got the podcast. They have to have podcasts in their thing. They look whenever they have time and they listen to them, or they don't. It's not, live shows, there's no difference if I do live shows, and I've done 400 guest appearances in since 22. So it doesn't do anything. So I am so for quality. If you cannot create the quality in a dance together with the host, then leave it. It just don't try to push it through. Don't try to sell anything, because there's better thing to sell. You do a YouTube video, it's better to sell your merchandise or whatever you have to sell versus a podcast. The podcast is about talking, open our perception, not right, wrong, good, bad, true, false.
And it's about like energy too, right? You got to have some energy. Yeah. You got to be in tune with you. And I always enjoy talking with you. So whenever I have a chance to talk with you, I'm always game on that. But man, like some of the people that I get that want to come on here, I'm just like, I'm not interested, congratulations, you've got a good job, or, and one of the things I've noticed is with AI, like when I started the podcast, ChatGPT hadn't came out yet. So AI was still what it was a few months back, and now it's this thing, and I don't think it's really that much better than it was when I started the podcast. Just more people know about it, right? So when I started the podcast, like everybody that wanted to come on, they're like, oh, I'm a business marketing guru, blah, 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 blah. And now it's all, I'm a business marketing AI guru. And they've all just switched their focus to now they're all of a sudden AI experts, and you talk to them.
Everybody copies
and they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah. And the thing is, I haven't seen any results. It's like, it's funny. When NFT came out, I couldn't find one person. I know a lot of artists that made a lot of money with it. And I know at the NFT world got Damien Hirst involved. So that, he's one of the most famous painters. So to promote it. So because, hey, if Damien Hirst works for it, they must be working for us. And literally, I've never heard anybody making money with it. And I know people that sell lithographs and whatever. Nobody has done any money with NFT. And I have the same fear with AI, because
I'm right there with you. It's vaporware.
Yeah, it's just I see every image. I see the images. I don't like them, because let's say you were a great facial thing to take. We take Nick's faces. We take Michael's arms that he creates really weird. Then we make the torso of somebody else. And then we just magically make it somehow fit. and it's boring. It's
And then
completely boring.
and it can't do
Yeah,
hands, so it's got like the
yeah,
craziest, weirdest hands, like
exactly.
T-Rex fingers, and you can always know at this point, like if it's an AI image or not, two ways.
Exactly.
The hands are jacked up, or you can't see the hands at all, because
Yeah,
that's typically what they do. Is just let's just make it so you can't see the hands, you know.
yeah,
But that's the
yeah,
easy way to scope it right now is just the hands, and like I'm one of these guys. I'm a science fiction fan. I've read hundreds of
yeah,
science fiction books since I've, been
yeah,
injured, and like a lot of these books feature AIs, and
yeah,
you get to kind of get a feel for what they do, how they work a
yeah.
little bit like that. And what we have is absolutely nothing close to science fiction. I think, and I've been saying for a while now, that ChatGPT is closer to my predictive keyboard than Skynet. A lot
Yeah,
closer, you know?
yeah,
And it's just this big thing. It's another excuse for money. Like the money grab is running up on wind and solar. There's no more
yeah, and everything.
subsidies
Yeah,
and there's no more tax breaks on that. It's kind of like, hey, you guys are going to sink or swim in a fair market at this point. Not completely. Like they're still going to get some
yeah,
help, but that money's drying up. I know all the solar people are going through my neighborhood still, and like I know they're liars. They'll come, oh yeah, we're gonna sell you this solar. It's gonna,
yeah,
save you all this money. Blah blah blah. And yeah, what are my tax credits like for this? Well, it's variable. It could be a lot of things. This and that. I go,
yeah,
or it could be zero because our power company stopped buying from you guys years ago, and you just don't tell
exactly.
people that.
Yeah,
So I think a lot of that hype from like this wind and solar thing is moving over to AI because, like, how do you go from we have to just completely destroy our electrical systems, make a new grid of nothing but wind and solar. But 6 months later, oh, now all of a sudden we need this AI that requires more energy than anything we've ever done on this planet. It really makes no sense,
uses
right?
abuses. So
Yeah.
the AI abuses the energy
Yeah.
because if I use, I think a regular Google search without AI, a regular Google search costs uh, 10 to 7 times less energy than an AI search.
Yeah.
And all they sell is to use the AI search. So it has to create a shortage. I think the cooling system of this is insane. It's I don't know, 240,000 households a day
It's
is just the cool.
insane.
And you cool the AI thing.
Yeah.
It's just
It's
what are we
insane.
doing?
You need
And
to
then
be
they
you need to be
yeah,
building them in like Antarctica or something like that, right? Like if you're going
exactly.
to build these
Yeah,
things, put them in a cold place. Let's stop putting them
exactly.
in Florida. Let's stop putting
Yeah,
them in California.
yeah,
It's just so weird because it's like the establishment and the majority of the people that kind of just follow the leader, they just
yeah,
don't look at these things critically at all because like any normal person who has like an objective mind would go, wait a minute, a couple months ago, we were having, the whole thing was energy, energy, energy. Now you don't give a shit about the energy at all, and
yeah,
nobody seems to put that together. Nobody cares. And because you're not supposed to put it together. You're not supposed to care. You're just supposed to shut up and nod your head and
yeah. We take care of you.
yeah.
We take care of you, which is the absolute worst. When you say, "Oh, let me take care of you," you're poor. Let me take care of you.
Yeah.
And just the worst thing ever.
And then they'll do something like, don't you want a personal assistant? I mean, AI could be
exactly,
your personal assistant. It's like, why don't you learn how to do your work yourself?
exactly. Because also, who does the? I'm posting right now 100 question about human-centrically about AI. It
Uh-huh.
took me a year to put those together. So I'm thinking on the 20 on LinkedIn. I always put it in, and now and everybody reads them. Because they said, what's the human purpose for AI? Not what's the okay. I'm gonna get a better worker bee. I'm a better worker bee. So what?
Yeah.
So the computer did the same thing with the cell phone. We now work 5 to 8 times more than we outputs than before computer and cell phones. Did we get 8 times more time and money? No. So we have less time and less money and work in 8. Our output rose to 8. We are so exploited. That's why we're just accepting everything.
Yeah.
We're so exploited. It's just, I gotta survive. I can't put my head around it. And then you default with payments. You do that. It's just you are in endless debt,
Yep.
endless debt, indebtedness.
And most people
And
just go, you know what? There's nothing I can do about it. I'm just going to turn on the football game and zone out. Because
Exactly.
what do you
Or go on Netflix.
and honestly, that's not a terrible plan, because like what else are you really supposed to do? These monsters are going to steal your money no matter what you do,
No matter what,
how
whatever
hard you
want to do.
work. You know,
Yeah.
Joe Biden during the debate wanted to raise the taxes on the rich 3 times. 3x. And it's like, all right, maybe the rich should pay more taxes, maybe not. We can have that argument. But to say that you're going to jack up the richest people in this country's taxes by 3x and that's not going to affect the rest of us, like, what are those rich people? How are all those rich people rich? Because they own businesses, because they produce things.
Yeah.
They make things that the rest of us use. And what's going to happen if you triple their taxes? They're going to triple their prices. And nobody cares because they don't give a shit about us.
Yeah. No, because they are more, I see. I restructure that. They don't give a shit about us because you and I need $2,000 to survive.
Yeah.
They need 400 million a month. When you are in this fight-flight position, so the biggest lie is, in the system, you're the great. When you, like the podcasting, right? You are the podcast is awesome. Only 1% makes 98% of the total podcast revenue. Nobody says that. And the same things they said, once you're leadership, everybody's a leadership expert. I said, okay, why is everybody a leader? Why not a teamwork? When I like to be in the crew with you, Nick, and we work good together. How can I make a really good team worker with our crew of 5 people? Why is that never a target, but always a leader that is segregated? And also a leader is never segregated because it keeps all the plates spinning.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't be segregated if you keep all the plates spinning. So I think these people are so afraid. They're saying, once you're a leader, you can be you. You can be the one-on-one that you are anyway, and you can do your decision. Only that is the biggest lie, because everybody that got to be. That's why Tony Bourdain killed himself. Yep. Rich people think the most normal people that got rich killed themselves because they said, I'm going to sacrifice working 20 hours a day to just get to be the number one. Yeah. And when they get it, there's nothing there. It's just like total control.
And then like our whole system is designed to mimic that guy's life. Like, hey, that guy, he did well in school. He went to college. He got a good job. He retired, and then he killed himself. Meanwhile, you need to do the exact same thing that he just did, even if you don't want to, even if you're not qualified to. You just shut up and do it. Like I've been really into these like police videos lately. I like watching crazy people get arrested or corrupt cops arresting people that shouldn't be arrested. And it's like, I was watching this one, and this guy, did everything right. He was an immigrant, worked hard, went to college, but he went to college to be like a history major. He wanted to be a historian. And then he switched majors and wanted to be a chemist, get a master's in chemistry. And these cops are like interviewing him about his dead mother. His mother dies, freak accident or whatever it was. And he's like, what kind of money situation? He's like, oh, I'm good. I'm trading stocks. I'm in the stock market. I'm doing great with money. And he starts pulling it out. And he's like, well, it shows here that you owe like $400,000 in student debt. And it shows here that you lost about $80,000 in the stock market last month. So again, like, what's going on with your money situation? And it turns out, dude, this guy did everything right. Everything right. Let's go to college, get a job, do the deal, pay off your debt. And he was so like underwater with debt that he thought his only solution was to murder his own mother. Mm-hmm. And that's the world we live in right now, where it's like you do it right and you end up with a noose around your neck or in a jail cell or just miserably unhappy. There are so many people out there who play the game that are just unbelievably miserably unhappy, and it's sad to watch however it ends out, right?
It's all because we generalize. We all need to be Taylor Swift. We all need to be Elon Musk. We can't be Nick or Michael. We can't be those don't be those. Those are not worthy. But be like Trump, be like Biden, be like somebody. These superstars, which are nothing. They are the talking heads, the politicians. And, Elon is not happy. Elon has all this stuff. He's a genius and everything, but you see him how he looks. He's not happy. He wants to do good or not anymore. I don't know, but he's not a happy camper, in my opinion.
No
You know,
way.
so
And we need people like Elon. If there's a team humanity versus team tyranny, right? Like we need lawyers, guns, and money. It's shit has hit the fan. Lawyers, guns, and money. Elon Musk has all of those things, and we need these elites to stand up and put their money where their mouth is, like he did. I'm not a huge fan of the way he makes money. I think that SpaceX is just NASA with a different name on it. It's all taxpayer money. Do you know any? Do you have any friends that are sending satellites into orbit? Because I don't. You know who is though? The Air Force. And DARPA and all these other disgusting companies who make weapons.
Would you have ever thought to go to NASA what Elon did? Yeah, hey, I want to shoot a rocket up. They have laughed so much at him.
Yeah,
they say, okay, let that motherfucker try it. And he tried, and he succeeded. The same with that car. BMW, Mercedes, they threw him out.
Yeah,
and now they copy him.
Yeah,
it's just, and I'm not a Tesla fan or anything.
No, me
I'm
neither.
Just saying,
but he does. He's an amazing guy.
Unbelievable.
There's a great. I'll send the video to you later. But there's a great episode of Jay Leno's Garage where he's Elon. He's interviewing Elon about the Raptor engine that he makes.
Yep.
And they're showing off this engine, and it's a cool fucking engine. I mean, the rocket engine is a pretty badass piece of machinery.
Yeah.
And Jay's like, how many of these things you make a day? 2, 3? And he's like, oh, we make like 40. It's like 40.
Yeah, it's amazing. He has already.
And it's like NASA can't get off the ground anymore. Boeing, they've been making
one.
Yeah. Like Boeing's been making spacecraft for 30 years, and they've got one stuck stuck up there right now that they can't bring down. Meanwhile, this guy who is just an eccentric billionaire is able to crank out rockets like nobody's business, and his safety record seems to be better than the rest of them as well. So it's like, we need guys like that who can make shit happen. Like, do I wish that he wasn't making so much money off of tax dollars? Absolutely. But I'm willing to call that a wash.
Yeah. Also, we really don't know, because the longer you're in a leader position, that's why I'm for term limits. The longer you're in a team, the more you're disconnected. So let's say I make you the governor of your state right now to tomorrow. You got to disconnect. But if you get reelected in 10 years, you have no connection to the people anymore. You don't take the bus anymore. You don't take this. You're not going for groceries. You have a person that buys it, and you're disconnected from the humanity. And that also forces you to be more system relevant. So they all put you more. So that's why I always say term limits, because we can get a short time up there, but it's super hard. It's not easy, because you're not free. You're not free to do anything you want,
So this is an interesting conversation, I think, because I'm torn on term limits, right? So clearly there's a problem with like Nancy Pelosi being a senator for 80 years or however long she's been in there, right?
27 years.
Yeah, however long it is. Like, that's a problem. But also, like, do we really want to kick Rand Paul and Thomas Massie out after 4 years? So there's a guy, Hoppe is his last name. I don't remember his first name. Heinz Hermann Hoppe. And he wrote a book called Democracy, the God That Failed. And the thesis of that book is that limited constitutional monarchy provides more individual freedoms than democracy. And his theory would be like, you have to have a stake in the area that you are in charge of. If you don't have an actual stake in what happens, then you're just there to collect money, right? You're playing the revolving door game. So like, you need to have a stake. So like, let's take, for instance, let's say that we switched over to like a constitutional limited monarchy, and you had a king that came in, and that king served for life.
Like England.
Yeah, exactly. But you had some type of choice, maybe, that how that happened, and maybe it's bloodlines, maybe it isn't. But you get someone like a Gordon Ramsay as the king of New York City for 30 or 40 years, that city is going to be beautiful. It's going to be the best place to visit in the Northeast. Like that whole city would change after just a few years of somebody like Gordon Ramsay behind the helm. But why would somebody like Gordon Ramsay want to put in all this time and all this money and all this effort to do it for a couple of years and then have somebody else destroy it as soon as he leaves? You know, like if you're going to spend your life and you're going to dedicate your life to something, you don't want to see some other asshole come in and destroy everything you've done after 4 years. And think about this. Like, I always think about like the small Mexican farmer or, you know, somebody down in Central America who owns like a restaurant. You get up, you go to work every day, you hammer out your tortillas, you fucking, you know, plow your fields, whatever you're doing, and you go to the market and they go, "Oh yeah, you know, beef's going to be 3 times as much today as it was yesterday." And you go, "What? How does that happen?" And they go, "Yeah, I don't know, some asshole in America made a decision and that's just how it is." Yep. And how fucked up is that for the rest of the world? We're just destroying them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, but I think it's like everything. It's, you know, it has 2 sides. Term limits, I think, are essential because not because of that people screw it up, but it's because it's so hard to be a leader. I was a politician, right? So, and I'm a political advisor still. So I find it extremely hard to be in that position because I see so many friends of mine changing when they are in it. You know, they get used to that. So because it's a different world. The political world is especially different because they are conditioned with and codependent with the media. You know, media says, okay, we have a problem with migrants on Fifth Street, right? There's too many migrants on Fifth Street. So the city council looks at that and says, okay, I can use that. I clean this. It's just the smallest problem. I clean it up, and then I get a lot of promotion from the media. What a good job I must, and then I can use that for my next election. It's not about you know, with homelessness, where they say, "Ah, it's a horrible problem," and whatever. Yeah, it is a problem, but it is not how they say it and how they promote it. When I moved here to America, we had an earthquake, one earthquake, and everybody said, "Are you still alive?" They called me. You know, they said, yeah, because they show all the things that are destroyed. They don't show, hey, it's a lot of it's good. And on this fault line, there was one store where this stuff fell down. So they show you the worst thing, and they're codependent. And that's why politicians believe the crap that's going on in media. Media needs the attention, right? And the politics believe it because they use that to fix to be a good politician and to give it back to them. And then they're codependent. But they're in their own world. That world doesn't exist.
No, you're right. It's completely
the media
fake.
is completely gone. The media
fake.
world and politicians does not exist. It's not real.
Yeah,
it's the same thing with when we saw human centricity, our part of nature, then system relevance, which is like after the Industrial Revolution. We have systems, you know, we have companies, religions, and all that stuff. And now it's the digital world. And the digital world is another thing that is completely out of reality. Do you know that the digital world has taken over, surpassed the money that the petrochemical industry makes in the regular systems, system?
Yeah, no, I was listening to some numbers the other day about like oil's not the king anymore. You know,
petrodollar is not it.
Yeah. They're moving away from that.
The crazy thing is, what I say is, look, if there was something that digital would be a product, would be okay. Because oil is a product, right? You pump it out of the thing and you refine it, you make plastic or whatever you make out of it. The attention business in the digital world is social media, you know, whatever is social, all that social crap. And then it's marketing and selling. And it's how to get more viewers and bots getting you more viewers or whatever gets you more viewers. So it's not really attention, because in nature, attention is to say, hey, Nick, look at me, how strong I am. I will attention, or a value is a female about female and said, look at me, and that's attention, to get attention. Or I'm crawling. I said, don't come closer, because that's my boundary.
Mm-hmm.
There's my kids, my mini animals. If you come close, I'm going to bite you. So there's two attention. They have nothing to do with the digital world. In the digital world, you can cancel a person and nothing happens to you. You can do this.
Yeah.
You can just say like or not like. You don't know if that's humans that actually you have all the likes from humans or bots. I mean, that's the Twitter, what Elon said. He said, why did you cut down for 11% or whatever he cut down when, I don't know the percentage. He said, because every 11th bot is only real. He says, if I have bots that give me fake numbers, that don't need the people.
Yeah.
He says, just get, because for so and so 100,000 people likes, he should have so and so many employees. And he says, no, I don't have those. Those are bots.
Yeah.
Yep.
I tell people all the time, if you just watched the media and didn't go outside, you'd think we were on the verge of a race war in this country.
Yep.
That, gosh, what else? You would think a lot of different things, right? Like, just everybody hates each other. We're all at our throats. Nobody can agree on anything. Race war, sex war, like just all of everything. It. And then you go to the grocery store and like there's a black, clerk, and it's like, hey, how are you? Good, thanks. How are you?
You're nice. Not you have to be nice.
It's like,
nice.
It's none of this stuff that they're really talking about is happening on an individual level. These arguments are going on in college campuses and shit like that, and they get, out of it. But at my local Winco, at my local pharmacy, no race war, no class war, none of it. All right. So here, I got a question for you. So as a political advisor, what would you tell the Democratic Party right now how to move forward with this presidential election? Because I have no idea what they're going to do at this point.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm not really knowledgeable about I'm telling the candidate.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Well, you can skip it if you want.
No, I can answer it. I want to answer it. I want to answer it human-centrically. So I think, first of all, that voting, that really I got in the recently, that voting is very fraudulent, not because it's not a privilege, because it's our privilege to vote. What are you voting? 80% in the middle, all the humans in the middle, 80%, they're all in the middle. That's why they're in the middle, and they are a little bit left, right, move to the more leaning to the right or the left. But when you vote, you have to vote fully right or fully left. Mm-hmm. And that's segregating again, because everybody has a thing. I say, hey, we are the same. I'm a little left, you're a little right. Who cares? Yeah. But if I'm saying I'm a staunch Democrat and you are a staunch Republican, then you are treated as a Führer, and I'm treated as a Marxist. Yeah. So it's just this extremely. And also, you're not really voting for the people. You're voting for the group, the team, for the Democrats. Yeah, for the team Democrats, team thing. So I would say, first of all, I think we should have younger candidates, because that's not, or saying, look, they're just our talking heads.
Doesn't matter.
You vote, right? You vote for Channel 4 or Channel 2. It doesn't really matter. No. Yeah, they're all talking. You like that host better or that host better? Dan Sora or whatever. Don't. Yeah, that would be right. But if they talk about golfing in the debate,
that was so ridiculous.
It's embarrassing. And then Trump got it anyway. He says, "Yeah, we are like kids." At least he got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just the richest, the most powerful country in the world. And you can say it over and over and say, no, it's not about, I don't know anybody, because the American spirit is so good. It's not about the politics. Mm-hmm. Because we were created you come here and it doesn't matter where you come from. We shake hands, we work together. Yeah. That's it. We work together, we do it. And this American spirit, you can't kill. You can try to kill it and think, but only from from a survival point. So I can be made lazy because I have no passion for a job that I don't want, right? So I become lazy in a job that is forced on me. But if I do my job, there's no laziness. You know that when you like
Yeah.
to work on a motorcycle, it's not like, no, for the next 3 months, I'm not going to work on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
If you love motorcycles, you work on it every day or have a day rest, but you love it because you like the creation of it and where it's going, and that, oh, the new tire, it feels differently. The new, oh my God, I put the new brake pads on and I can just freak out. It's so good.
Yeah. And now the
And it has all
internet,
this impact. It has all this impact.
and now,
And
sorry, I was
no,
just gonna
no,
say, and
no,
now with the internet, like back in the day, we didn't really, if you didn't have somebody to teach you how to work on a bike, you just kind of
yeah,
had to figure it out yourself. And now,
yeah,
like, I go on YouTube and look at these different things with how to tweak suspension. It's like, man, all the stuff that
yeah,
I didn't know
super,
back in the day, right?
yeah,
Like all the stuff that they know now,
yeah.
and it's like, wow. Anyways, about voting,
So
I always say, like, if voting was fair, they wouldn't let us do it.
exactly,
Like it
exactly.
just wouldn't happen. And they make it like this religious experience. Oh, you have to
Yeah,
vote. Your vote
yeah. You have
matters
to
so
put the
much.
sticker
I
on and
voted. I
everything.
voted. And it's so dumb. And I'm kind of on the same page when we're talking about like constitutional monarchy or limited governments versus a
Yeah,
limited monarchy type of thing. Like I think we have too much voting in this country. I don't think that everybody should be allowed to vote because you're always going to have-nots taking away from people who have a stake in how the country is ran after they're gone. So you've got families who own property, who are leaving it to their kids, who really want to leave a better country to their children than the one that they
yeah,
grew up in. That's their entire goal. But you have a massive, massive portion of the civilization of this country that don't care about that at all. All they want is more money, more money, more money, and
yeah.
more
Because
money.
yeah,
And they'll
but
take it from
Nick,
everybody that produces. You're there. It's all this communist mindset where I don't think I should have to work for what I have.
yeah. But also, this is something why everybody says about money, money, money is, and I think we have talked about that, is because 70% of Americans live paycheck by
Yeah.
paycheck. If you want to come in the top 1% of earners in America, you need only $480,000 a year.
Yep.
$480,000 you need in the top 1%. If you want to be the top 1% of the world, you need $32,000. So it's just and people say, yeah, and there's this lie. The money becomes such a manipulative tool. The lie, when you live in Costa Rica, you might get only $20 a day, but nothing costs anything.
Yeah.
So when I get $20 a day and nothing costs anything, I'm fine with
Yeah.
$20 a day. I'm not saying, oh, I need to make $50 an hour here,
Yeah.
$20 a minimum wage. No, I don't. It's
So
just insane. And the climate change is another thing that people are so blind about. It's an extra tax. You're
yeah.
taxed and you can't tax. And then so the system says, okay, 1.9% is that you need to be within that 1.9%. So who decided that? What expert? And nobody can hold it. Everybody is surpassing it.
Yeah.
And it never worries about climate change people, about clean water,
Nope.
clean air, clean food.
Yep.
No, none. I've never heard them connect the two and say, if we all humans would take the responsibility for clean air, clean food, clean water, we would actually help the climate change, whatever we caused, because when there's no dirty air anymore because people just drilling everywhere
Yeah.
and doing all this stuff, or no wars. How can, if a city says, okay, our nation is for climate change, but also we do war. You
Yeah.
can't do it both.
Yeah.
It's either or, because the biggest polluter is war. And we have 58 wars right now.
Yeah.
58 wars.
58.
Yeah,
Oh.
currently. Yeah.
Oh.
And did you see my war document that I
No,
wrote?
I didn't.
I have to send it to
Oh
you.
my
I wrote
goodness.
one, and it's long.
58
It's 35.
wars?
Yeah.
I would
58
have
wars.
guessed so much less than that. That is
I
just,
would say 7 or something, right?
yeah.
7. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my
No,
God.
58 wars. That's why I wrote it. I said I need to
Oh,
figure out if there's any advantage of having a war, and there's none. There's because the climate change. Look, climate change. The war is the biggest polluter because none of the tanks or anybody has a catalytic converter or
no, they don't
anything.
give a shit.
Yeah, they blow up. They blow up
Depleted
the dust of
uranium.
all the stuff. They come to and what the thing is they kill the infrastructure, which is another form of pollution. Because uh, if I explode and kill the infrastructure, what happens? They have to rebuild it. I have to take the old stuff, rebuild it, new cement, new sand,
Yep.
explore, more
Energy,
explore.
energy.
So for
Resources,
me,
resources, resources.
any nation that is in the climate change, I said, we can start talking about climate change the moment you stop in any way supporting war.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
also in the war, what I want to solve in the war is because we are forced to pay for the war. The taxpayer is forced. So if I don't pay our taxes, we get into jail.
Yep. If we don't agree to kill people, fund the
For
killing of people. We're thrown in a cage.
and we have no reason.
No.
See, I have to first when you say, I want to see the face and say, what is the point to go and have a war there? Tell me any Russian or Ukrainian, any Israeli, any Palestinian. What is the point? What is the leadership that decides this is a war? Why is this treated like so clandestine? It means nothing. Why do you kill these people? Why do you have wage war? And nobody, Putin said it was a defensive war. Nobody says actually it's a war. And in that document, I explained that defensive is the biggest. When somebody says it's a defensive war, it's the best because it screws all humans up because we have to defend our borders, you know?
And then you go on the other side, our side, where they go, this was an unprovoked war of aggression.
Exactly.
Where you go, that's complete bullshit. Where,
what is it? What does that mean?
Neither. It's neither because they're all liars. They're all playing this ridiculous fucking game. I could take this in so many different directions right now, but I want to touch on what you were saying about climate change real quick. So I don't know if you know this, but I lived in Lahaina, Maui for like a year.
You told me.
My aunt and uncle lived there. They lost their home, lost some friends. And that entire fire is because of climate change. And hear me out on this, because you're going to go, wait a minute, climate change can't cause a fire like that. Oh, but it can. Over the last decade, Lahaina has shifted investment from improving their infrastructure, replacing wooden power poles with concrete ones, building new access roads, different drainage, improving their water systems. They invested in climate change, just millions and millions of dollars in climate change. So therefore, by investing all of this money in this abstract thing that may or may not affect your island in 30 to 50 years, you decided to just dump everything into it and let your infrastructure go to shit. And now one of the most beautiful places in the world has been completely destroyed, and the hotels are going to come in, steal that land from the natives, and turn it into a fucking Marriott.
Yep. And there's nothing wrong with Marriott, but not to make everything Marriott. There's Marriott that are fine where the Marriotts are, but they shouldn't be everywhere. No, nothing should be generalized. Every time you generalize human, every time you make one system for all, the most lost for the individual. There's never a gain. There's a certain thing, the bigger you get, your phone company gets bigger, and you have like 3 different stores. That gets to getting cheaper prices. But when it's all over, then it becomes a monopoly.
Yeah.
I mean,
and inflation is just destroying us. I was talking with my mom yesterday about her first house. So my mom is 20 years older than me. She's, I guess, 58. She bought her first house when she was a senior in high school. She got a first-time homeowner's loan for it. The house cost $69,900. They sold it a few years later and made like 20 or 30 grand on it. Today, The house is worth $550,000. There is no
Yeah.
part of that house that is better than the day that
Yeah.
they bought it. The
Yeah.
only thing, like, in fact, the house is much worse. The yard has been
Yeah.
taken out and they turned the
Of
yard
course.
into
Yeah.
this weird garden thing that looks like
Yeah.
shit. The carpet, every part of the house is older and more beat down than when they bought it
Yeah.
brand new, but it is worth more than 5 times
Yeah.
what they paid for
Yeah.
it. And that is
Uh,
just because of inflation. They're
yeah.
destroying us. Like the thought of a high school kid buying a house while they're still in high school, working a part-time job today
Yeah.
is unthinkable. Nobody would
Yeah.
approve the loan. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
how much money you're making, they're not approving that loan. You
Yeah.
can't even get a fucking new car loan as a high school
Yeah.
student anymore. But
Yeah.
they have no problem giving you 100 grand for college the day you graduate
500,
high
500
school.
grand for Harvard, 500 grand.
Yeah,
And
can't have a
which you
car,
can
can't
never
have a
get
house,
rid.
but go to college
Yeah,
and
go
then
to
kill your
college.
mother when it
Teaches
goes
you not.
bad.
Yeah. And that doesn't teach you anything because you get a better education if you know how to run the internet. You can
Yeah.
on YouTube. It's what you pay for Harvard is a dating set, very expensive dating set. So you get introduced to people in that echelon,
Yep.
and that's what helps you. But it doesn't, the knowledge never say, everybody uses saying, yeah, we're from Harvard or we're from Stanford or for whatever, uses the brand, but it doesn't mean that they're smart or anything. They're just hiding, they're hiding behind the system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. It's amazing. Like I know a lot of people when I lived in San Francisco, I knew a lot of people like that went to really great schools that just
Yeah.
had zero common sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
Just none.
Yeah.
Like I knew somebody who was an investment banker at Goldman Sachs, didn't know shit about that job. Like really just didn't know
Yeah.
shit about it, but you get taught how to do these procedures. And you don't have to
Yeah.
think for yourself. You just do your job. And you went to this college that says you met the right, like you said, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And that's always been
Exactly.
true. It's always going
Yeah.
to be true. And
Yeah.
they just made horrible decisions. Like these people that I knew, like she started her own business. It went crazy, like just crazy. She got offered $50 million for it from Michaell's crafting company,
Yeah.
and she held out for more, and that company went under. She didn't get a fucking thing from it. When I was moving here to Idaho, I remember sending them a picture of we were in this like really beautiful place outside of Boise called Eagle, Idaho, and they have a bunch of horse ranches and it's
Yeah.
just really a gorgeous place. It was out of our price range, but we were looking around anyways. And I remember sending a picture of this cul-de-sac. And the guy goes, "Oh man, that's what a sweet place. You guys gonna move there?" I'm like, I can't afford that. But with the amount that you paid for your last house, you could have bought this entire neighborhood.
Yeah.
And he's just like, "You're fucking kidding." And he would have liked that. It's his wife wasn't gonna, wouldn't do anything. But
Yeah.
just imagine, I'm gonna buy one house in San Francisco in a nice neighborhood where I get the same points at Harvard. It's just a fancy dating area. We get to live by
Yeah.
the bars. We get to say we live in the
Yeah.
marina. Meanwhile, like you could buy an entire fucking cul-de-sac in Idaho.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And
just ridiculous.
But we have to that's why I'm so hammering on the 101, because I mean, we are an example. You and I met and we just fit synergistically. We fit. You are 101. I'm not telling you what to do. You don't tell me what to do. We just contribute, and we're both right because we both contributed to the conversation, not to each other. I'm not teaching you. You don't teach me.
Mm-mm.
And that's where actually that's where what I call the second superpower, when humans actually have dialogue that is not system relevant. Oh, you're right, you're wrong, you're good or right. But they say from experience, this is like you told me about your mom. The experience is what's counts, not what you learned. Oh, I read 15 books and they say that means nothing.
Yeah.
I want to see what you have done with motorcycle. I'm not interested that you tell me the using instruction from the thing. I said, so yeah, what did you do? The flashlight works like that. No, How did you do with your biking? What did you do? And it's not about knowing the inside out of a Buell, and what's different between the Harley and Buell have the same motor, right? And it's like, what is different? How did the fitting? I don't need to know that.
Yeah.
That's a mechanic talk.
Yeah.
I need to say, hey, I love the Buell. I love that
Yeah.
that it's so different.
It's such a cool
has a good
story.
feel.
The Buell's such a cool story. It's just, Eric Buell's just a talented, really talented, really fucking cool guy that was able to do something different, and
like that.
I will never
because
sell this bike because it is different. When I would ride this thing in San Francisco, I would pull up next to people and they would, what the hell is that? Because the sound and the look don't mesh, it just, and to me, there's something beautiful about that. Like, I think it's a gorgeous bike, the way it was built and everything, but the story is also so cool because I like individuals who do something, I'm one guy, I have a vision, and I'm going to make that happen, and it didn't work out. It didn't work out. They folded, and that sucks. But he gave it everything, and these bikes are going to be around forever.
So long.
This bike will outlive all of us.
Yeah.
Like, I have a 72 Chevy C10 pickup in my garage. That thing is 25 years older than I am, and it'll be around for forever. Hundreds of years after I'm dead. And there's something beautiful about
that's art
me.
in my
It's
art.
Thing.
Yes. That is art.
Yeah, it's
that's
beautiful.
Art. Yeah, and the quality is more important than the quantity. It's always the quality, not the quantity.
Yeah, right back to where we started. Why put out a bad podcast if I'm not into it?
Exactly.
The last podcast that I did, I remember I'm setting up and I was like, I hope this guy cancels. Yeah. And that's not a good place to be, right? Like, you shouldn't be recording if you're in that place, right? Like, when I'm getting ready for you, I'm like, all right, I get to talk to Mike today. Like, I'm pumped. Yeah. And as soon as we start talking, like, my energy's up and I feel better, And even that last one, the guy showed up and it ended up being fine, but it wasn't my best performance. Yeah. And, like, I don't want to make this podcast a chore, if that makes sense. Like, this is something I started to do for fun. I wanted to meet people. I was hoping it would be successful. That's probably a misplaced.
We all do. We're not 97% of businesses fail after the third year because of money, cash flow.
Yeah, I mean, I worked in restaurants forever, and that's the restaurant stat right there, and
97%. Nobody talks. You're a business owner. Wow, he's great. And he's a business owner for 2 years, and that's all over. 97%. Every business owner you think. I said, I'm in a new business. I'm in a new internet business. 2 years, 3 years, and he's gone. He's bumping up, and everybody's thinking, and then he loses because the choices. It's not. Nobody is stupid. Look, anybody that does a business, I'm totally for it. But they sell something like telling us the podcast. They say you got to bring out 2 podcasts a week, and if you don't, and I'm so against that. I said, do the podcast whenever you do, because if they ever find you, they will love what you do. And the best thing is out there, not the worst thing is out there. The best thing is out there. And hey, if there's only one good movie and there's not a series or whatever, watch that one good movie.
Yeah. I heard a great piece of advice from a podcaster once. He said that for small podcasters who are coming up, and this can work for you, this can work for anybody. Yeah. He said, treat every podcast like the number one person you would like to listen to it is listening. So if you want to be on Joe Rogan, if that's what you want, if you want to be a pod and you want to get on, you do every episode as if Joe Rogan is listening to it, thinking, should I have this guy on? And if you do that, it's going to, the entrepreneur has been just demonized in this country. You were saying all these businesses close down. People just do not understand how hard it is to run a business and how important the entrepreneur is. Every major business that we use right now, was started by an entrepreneur, not some fucking think tank, not the government.
Yeah.
One person
Exactly.
or a small group of people who had an idea and needed to make it happen, right?
Yeah.
When I went to college, they're not teaching you anything about entrepreneur. Nothing. Their entire goal is to make you a manager at Walmart. They do not want you to make your own business, you know?
Yeah.
And on how hard it was. I was talking to a buddy yesterday. He's a contractor. He runs his own business. He's just a solo contractor. And he was working as a contractor during 2008. And I was, I think we were in 2008. I was probably 22, 23, 24. Like, I didn't know much about the world around me. He didn't either. And he was just working for some guy. And he was telling me yesterday, he's like, man, that guy, he kept us working that entire time. And I didn't really realize how hard it was for him, or like the sacrifices that he made to keep his business going, until much later down the line. But now he can look at it and go, wow, that guy did something for me. It wasn't just a job. Like, people in that area were dying, destitute, out of work, and he kept him working. And that's a hero in my mind. You kept it. You gave my buddy a Christmas for his kids for years, where other people around him didn't have Christmas. They were able to buy a home where other people were renting. Like, to me, that's the unsung hero of this country, is the entrepreneur, not the fucking politician who doesn't do. Look at like what's been going on for the past 4 years. Looks a lot like the previous 4 to me. Like, they scream about Trump. When I was in college, real quick, and then I'll let you go. When I was in college, the books were all written while Trump was in office. Oh, he's destroying this. Oh my God, industry capture. He's going to take down these industries. By the time I was reading it, he was already out of office, and everything they were talking about had been overturned, and we were right back to where we were. So it was like, it just didn't make any sense. And I think, I hear a lot of people, because I live in Idaho, so we're surrounded by conservatives here, and they go, oh, we got to get Trump back in because Joe Biden's destroying this country. And it's like, it's the same. Nothing has really changed. Gun rights have actually gotten better under Joe Biden, and they were worse under Trump. Because what these conservatives around here don't seem to understand is, it's not always the best to have your guy in office, because when your guy is in office, the other side is energized. And the other side is who pushes things, is who makes policy. And this is why I've been calling Trump to win for the past 2 years, is because what happens, we've got all of these college kids who are freaking out and literally think that we are going to die in 20 or 30 years because of climate change. This is an outrageous fear, but they actually think that this is going to happen. What are the Democrats going to tell them if they hold power for the next 8 to 12 years? Sorry, we just, these companies, like, they can't make excuses for that long. They have to have their enemies in power so they can go, well, we want to do the right thing, but these evil Republicans just won't let us. Because we both know that the Democrats aren't going to shut off oil and gas. That's not going to happen.
We know they're all the same anyway. They just lean a little bit, because 80% is medium, right? The outliers on the one side and the poor people and the lost people on the other. So 80% are basically voting the same, just a little bit left or right. And it has to be, because you generalize. When you generalize people, you cannot just go, okay, we're communists now. No, it's just we are Hitler or communists. You can choose. That's bullshit. So we are all in average, but we segregate by saying the other party is either me, good or bad. And this choice segregates us. We say, okay, I vote for. Okay, could I, for example, vote for Trump and the Democratic Party? That would be saying, if I'm not for Biden, I'm for Trump, but I want to vote for the Democratic way. In this would be a voting would be more representative. But now you can't. You have to choose one talking head over the other, and then you have to commit to all the stuff they do. I'm not agreeing with any party.
Me neither.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Which is why I've never voted in my life. It's funny because I didn't know anything about politics till I got hurt and I was 30. Everything happens for a reason, and I didn't know how evil, of a world we lived in until I had to confront it at some point. And gosh, I don't remember where I was going with that, but anyways, yeah, it doesn't
We
matter.
talked out. We talked out already.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, shit,
Yeah.
Mike, thanks for coming on, man. I feel better just talking with you. It's always good to have.
Anytime.
And you were
Anytime.
saying earlier that I don't learn from you. You don't. That's not true on my side. I learn from you every time. I think that you have a great perspective. I love how you work. You're a worker, man. Doing 400 podcasts in the time that we've known each other is freaking crazy. I've done like 80 total. So like,
Yeah.
I look
But
at
I'm a
you.
guest. I'm a guest. I don't have to edit and stuff. So
Yeah,
you have to
no,
do
exactly. And that's the part I hate the most is the editing.
Yeah.
It doesn't take that long, but it is a pain in the ass. But no, man, I look at you and I think you're doing something with your life that's worth doing and you're passionate about it. And I think that your passion and your engagement is contagious. I think people listen to you and they go, "Oh man, this guy's got something," because I do. When I listen to you, I go, he's got something.
Everybody's a one of one.
Yeah.
Nick, everybody's a one of one of 8 billion people and also has a unique life perspective of their experience. Because in your family, not everybody thinks the same.
No.
Not everybody falls in love with the same woman. Not everybody. We are all one. We have to revival that and say, update the systems from generalities, that man, woman thing, to no, you come in the system, it doesn't matter how you look, the form is irrelevant. Oh, you have one arm, oh, you hurt, it doesn't matter. Whatever you have, you're one of one. The nature doesn't make a mistake. And so you need to be treated as one on one. I mean, I was in a hospital just now, as my wound, and I had to wait 8 hours for a 30-minute procedure. Ugh. 8 hours for 30. I was like so distorted for being in a fluorescent light room, no windows. Yeah. I said, where is the good in this? Where's the good? And 8 guys were running the whole emergency. They were running around, and it's like they are totally overworked. And this is about your health, right? Yeah. You expect they help you in saying the right thing. And I cannot even tell you the mix-up and the stuff that happened.
I did 4.5 months in a burn unit, man. I know what you're talking about. I like they used to come in and wake me up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to like do blood tests and shit like that. It's like, oh god, yeah. It's a horrible place to be. The burn unit's about the worst place to be in the world. There was we'll end on this. There was a little girl in there that she had like boiling water spill on her head and went all the way down, and it just destroyed her. And you could hear her every day in physical therapy because they stretch, and she's growing so much that her skin is like being torn.
Tight, like a drum.
Yeah. And one of the coolest things I ever saw was they brought a mini pony into the burn unit on her birthday, and she got to ride that pony around.
Oh my God.
All day. And to see something like that in one of the worst places in this country, a burn unit, it's one of the worst places you can go. It's uplifting, even though it's one of the most horrible things you can imagine.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, it's been a pleasure. We'll do this again in another couple months.
Whenever.
Right
on,
man.
Where to get me. Okay.
Sounds good. Take it easy, bud.